What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a brand new video going over Week 9's Sunday main slate, and this is just giving out players that you should probably consider taking in cash games. This is not saying that these are guys that are for sure going to pop off, but these are guys that are probably going to have ownership and have good matchups. Obviously, you don't want to follow the field with every pick you do. You want to have some type of variance. You want to have some type of leverage. And that's how you pretty much cash. You're going to want some of the same plays, but for the most part, you want to make sure that your leverage plays hit. If your leverage plays don't hit, there's probably a good chance you're not going to cash. There's going to be players that are 40, 50, 60, and so on percent owned in cash and head-to-head that you need to make sure that your leverage plays hit. If you're not following any of the field at all, by all means, that's always a strategy, because no matter what, if your players hit, you're going to cash because no one else has them. But you often find yourself playing some of the players that the field is on. So let's just go over it position by position of guys that you should probably consider taking cash. Josh Allen here at 8,500. If you want what's considered the safest play on the slate is Josh Allen here. By all means, his worst game he just had was the primetime against Green Bay. They probably could have done a lot more. But as you can see by his passing attempts, rushing attempts, it didn't scream explosive Josh Allen. Obviously working on some stuff against a really elite team that's probably going to be in the playoffs. I know they're underperforming, but overall they're still a very good team. So Josh Allen is the safe play if you're paying up for a quarterback. Josh Allen. You start going down, and Aaron Rodgers is the first name that comes to me, and that is playing against a division opponent, and Aaron Rodgers has pretty much dominated the NFC North for quite some time. The only thing that you have to watch out for is who his wide receivers are. So if we go really quick and we just look, and I'll go over these guys later, but Allen Lazard, Christian Watson, both questionable. Lazard is a game-time decision, so that's something to watch out for. If they're both in, that's huge for Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers, 59, is probably my guy that I really like and feel very confident of playing in cash. We keep going down, and we have some other names. Marcus Mariota being one of them. Now, I know it's not the ideal what you want to pay in cash, because you have Justin Fields, you have Trevor Lawrence, who are two other good plays. But when you consider Cordell Patterson is returning, the Chargers are banged up offensively, defensively. They don't look the same as they did. Now you look at Marcus Mariota's numbers, and he's pretty much a boom or bust player as far as paying off for his salary. Now, the games where he's getting 16, 17, 12, it's not necessarily a bust, but it's your quarterback, and you're going to want 20-plus points out of your quarterback. Now, at 5,300, you get a discount off of Aaron Rodgers, but you get Justin Fields here at 5,300, who's got a little bit of a better matchup here, gets a new wide receiver, hopefully gets a decent amount of snaps in Chase Claypool, but 5,300, being able to scramble also with Marcus Mariota, is Justin Fields against Miami. 5,300 is definitely another play that you should consider taking. And last but not least will be Trevor Lawrence playing a terrible Las Vegas secondary. And we look at Trevor Lawrence's numbers really quick, and I mean, it's almost the same thing as Marcus Mariota. Like I said, you want to have your quarterback get somewhere around 20-plus points. If he's on the brink of getting 20 points, it's one thing. But if he's getting like an 18, 14-point game, it's not necessarily bad, but you're wanting that 20-plus. Like, you almost need 20-plus points out of your quarterback. And he's one of them that can, and this is a very good matchup for him. It seems they're able to move the ball a little more efficiently with Travis Etienne. So Trevor Lawrence is another guy. Now, running backs, Austin Eckler for me, if I'm not paying up at quarterback, and I'm not paying up at wide receiver for whatever reason, because this is a slate where there's no paying up for a tight end, I want to pay up for Austin Eckler. And the reason why is there's no Keenan Allen. There is no Mike Williams. The wide receiver for the Chargers, I believe Palmer is questionable too, even if he does play. Austin Eckler, I mean, the last 2 weeks, 28 targets. Guess what? He's got 22 receptions. So it's not like he's getting a lot of passes and he's not catching them. He's gotten you at least 10 fantasy points just by catching the ball. Not counting any of the rushing yards, not counting any of the receiving yards, not counting any touchdowns. The last 2 weeks, that is what he's produced. Now, granted, Atlanta's probably going to game script for Austin Eckler to get the ball, but with how banged up the Chargers are, and they have a good passing matchup, it seems like Austin Eckler is Justin Herbert's safety right now. So Austin Eckler, I am definitely wanting to pay up $8,800 for Austin Eckler here. We keep going down. Aaron Jones at $7,400, I think is another really good play. Last week we see 143 yards on the ground, no touchdowns, which is not necessarily a bad thing because he gets you 22 fantasy points. The week before, just being utilized a lot in the passing game, gets you 2 touchdowns. So you're kind of seeing that balance. Like I said, same thing for Aaron Rodgers. If you don't play Aaron Rodgers, I would recommend playing Aaron Jones then. Either the quarterback, running back, or both. We've seen it a lot of times where both Rodgers and Aaron Jones have success and win people a lot of money in DFS. Josh Jacobs is another name at $7,300 that you should consider taking. Jacksonville just has not been good against the run. Vegas is using Josh Jacobs a lot. You're not going to get Darren Waller. You get Foster Monroe, who fills in very nice, but you're getting Devontae Adams, who should be healthy from what I hear. He's not sick anymore. Hunter Renfrow healthy as well. So you're getting that trio almost of Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, hopefully helping out Josh Jacobs a little more. He's just been very efficient. We continue to go down, and this is where you make plays. So from 6,200 to 6,300, we get 3 great plays on this slate. Travis Etienne against Vegas. Now, almost the same thing as how Ken Walker has been just exploding. You just look at Etienne, and he is just risen in the running game. His yards per rush is just crazy. He hasn't been utilized a whole lot in the passing game, but he does get targets, and that's kind of what you want as well. And he's got 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. So very good matchup, very good price point for running back for me. If let's say you pay up for Josh Allen and you pay up for a receiver like Stephon Diggs or Tyreek Hill, anything like that, and you need a bit of a cheaper running back, or you want to go 2 cheaper running backs, Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris is not expected to play, I believe is what the news is right now. 6,200 against the Colts. And I mean, being basically the number 1 back now, he's going to be the number 1 back. Look at his last 2 weeks. Hasn't gotten more than 20 carries, but guess what? He's gotten 15 targets, and he's gotten 15 receptions in his last 2 games, and that's kind of what you want. You look at his last 4 games he's had, and you got 20-plus points a game. Going against a Colts defense who is not good against the running back at all. Ramondre Stevenson's definitely a play. And then Ken Walker at 6,200 as well is somebody else that I like for this slate. Now, he does get some regression. We saw the Travis Etienne went up. He finally went down. But if you look at this, Ken Walker has 5 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He's played the New Orleans Saints, rushed 88 yards. He's played the New York Giants, 18 for 51, which that's where his regression comes, a touchdown. Still gets you 12.2 fantasy points. So, he's not as much used in the passing game as we'd like for running back. That's just not who he is and how they run their system, but they are going to use him a lot in that game. Hopefully Seattle's defense does what they can and Ken Walker continues to be used. If Arizona, for whatever reason, takes a big lead, which may or may not happen, Ken Walker may not see as much touches and as much points. Deontay Foreman, no Chuba Hubbard again, 6,000 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, one of the better rushing teams. But I mean, the last 2 weeks, 118 yards both games. It's pretty hard to dislike. 6,000. I'd rather probably go more of the ETN Stevenson Walker route. But Foreman is definitely a play. Benjamin's another name to watch out for if James Conner is out. It's definitely a game time decision. But 5,900 here against Seattle is another play to definitely keep in mind. And then last for me is Antonio Gibson. And the reason I like Antonio Gibson is not because Brian Robinson is hurt or anything like that. McKissick is hurt. Unfortunately for him, he is hurt. And Brian Robinson's not a receiving back, which means Antonio Gibson is that receiving back. We saw him have great success with my boy Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke feeds Antonio Gibson passes. I mean, just look this season; it's been pretty consistent for his targets. Last week against Indy, 7 targets, 7 receptions, 58 yards. So Antonio Gibson's a sneakier play for me, somewhere to get leverage. Let's go to wide receiver. For pay up wide receivers, Justin Jefferson is 8,600. I really like his matchup. Hopefully he could get the touchdown. It was a stat that I didn't realize until I saw it. But he has not got a receiving touchdown since week 1. So hopefully he breaks it. Really good matchup. But then there's Tyreek Hill at 8,500 being utilized so much in the Dolphins offense. Playing a Bears secondary who has played better, but I mean, against guys like this, I don't think you're going to get Kyler Gordon and Vildor to keep up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill, I mean, you just look at the 10-plus target games he's had this season in the fantasy points. He is probably my number 1 receiver that I'm targeting this week. We continue to go down. DeAndre Hopkins, 7,900. We start to see his price rise, and rightfully so. 27 targets in his first 2 games back, 262 yards in his 2 games back, and a touchdown. Going against a rougher matchup here, I do get it, but it is DeAndre Hopkins, and the connection that Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins have is it's matchup preventable. Like you just can't really stop it. You could try to slow down, but I don't think you could really stop it. Jalen Waddle, like I said, another play that I really like. But I'd rather go T. Higgins if you're going to pay in that 7K range. T. Higgins against Carolina. Jamar Chase is gone. Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst are going to be used more. But T. Higgins is that reliable third down guy that they use. We continue to go down. Amon-Ra, if you like the Green Bay stack, which I do today, Amon-Ra is another player to go with in your stack. It's usually how it pans out if you go and look at some of the millie makers. Granted, his numbers haven't been good, and it is a rougher matchup, but it is a divisional game, and if Green Bay does what they finally should do, and that's take a lead, keep the lead, we've seen what Detroit can do when down, and they're not afraid to pass the ball a lot. And with T.J. Hockenson now traded, Amon-Ra is definitely the number 1 by a long shot. T.J. Hockenson was never the number 1, but now there's no contested right there. DJ Chark is out, and Jamison Williams has not returned. Tyler Boyd, like I mentioned, is a good tournament play for me. Chris Godwin is a play that I do really like, 6,200 against the Rams. It's a very good matchup. Hopefully these 2 very underperforming teams finally perform. That's all I want to see so bad. Chris Godwin, 6,200 is a good piece to have in that game. Tyler Lockett, if you like the Arizona side, Seattle is still a top 5 offense somehow. No disrespect to any of them. But Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, 64 and 6,100 definitely plays. Alan Lazard, if he is healthy, if we don't see anything that he's supposed to be limited or on watch or anything like that, 6,000 Alan Lazard I really do like. But I don't think I'm going to go for it just because of his game time decision. Terry McLaurin, I do like at 5,900 as well. Taylor Heineke he just increases McLaurin and Gibson's value. In season-long fantasy, he goes for his guys. So, Terry McLaurin there. DJ Moore is a piece. If you like the Cincinnati side, DJ Moore with PJ Walker is just something different. You look 21 targets on his last 2 games, over 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. PJ Walker likes to feed his number 1 receiver. It's clear. Jacoby Myers here in this matchup. It's not the greatest matchup, but with Devontae Parker out, I really like Jacoby Myers here. But Romeo Doubs at 5,300 is probably the play that I'd lean more if Alan Lazard is out. Romeo Doubs is becoming that number 1 guy behind Allen Lazard. And he's had so many opportunities to score. And this is a game where he could do that. And then last but not least, at least for me, there's other plays. But the last team I want to go over is the Chargers. And you're looking at Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter. Both these guys, DeAndre Carter, questionable. But both these guys have a very good matchup with no A.J. Terrell. So they don't have the toughest matchup cornerback-wise. And with both Mike Williams, Keenan Allen out, look for these guys to be plays at the wide receiver. Last but not least, tight end. So I don't really want to pay up that much for a tight end. I don't want to pay over $4,000. But if you are, Gerald Everett against Atlanta at $4,800, good matchup. Okay with the price. Kyle Pitts, $4,500. Is another thing. He's just such an elite talent, and all he needs is volume. He got it last week. We're hoping we can get it again. I don't know. I'd rather go somewhere safer, like Robert Tonyan at $3,800. Watching news for Watson and Lazard. If they're both out, Robert Tonyan becomes one of my favorite plays, especially at the tight end position, $3,800. Really good matchup here against Detroit. Tyler Higbee with the injuries on Tampa Bay. Tyler Higbee is the number 2 targeted receiver on that offense. And at $3,700, really good matchup, really good price. I like that a lot. Evan Ingram, $3,300 against Vegas. He is now becoming a top 10 tight end number-wise, statistically. You look at his targets, 6+ targets his last 4 weeks. His yards have pretty much been the same. Only 1 touchdown in those 4 weeks, but you're paying $3,300, so you're hoping for 10+ points out of him. And then last but not least for me, Foster Moreau. Darren Waller out. We continue to see Foster Moreau just do what he's needed to do. 9 targets last week against New Orleans. He's got a little bit of a better matchup this week, and he is another cheap tight end for me. I'm not going to go over defenses. If you're going to want a defense here, Carolina, I guess, is a play at $2,300. Seattle against Arizona. Chicago against Miami. Some of those plays, I just always pay down for a tight end. It's not really going to hurt you at all. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want to join us, the link for that will be in the description down below, where you could join our Discord for all our plays and whatnot. So I will see you guys in the next one.